everyone, thank you for joining me today. My name is Lisa Vanderschuit, my pronouns are she and her. I am an engineering program manager at Shopify. Shopify powers millions of businesses worldwide. They're the all-in-one commerce platform to start, run, and grow a business. Over my 8 years at Shopify, I've had the opportunity to lead more than 30 key initiatives, including some of the largest replatforming initiatives for our engineering org. Along with other program managers, we ensure that engineering's impact is greater than the sum of the parts. We do this by delivering initiatives that support our product teams as they build new features for our merchants. My passion for building communities has led me to establish the Shopify Asian Employee Resource Group, as well as the EPM Craft at Shopify. Today, I'll be walking you through several demos on GitHub Projects, but first I want to walk you through some concepts on project planning to set the stage. I'll also close with a recap of some of my favorite features in the new GitHub projects. Here's a picture of a very messy desk. Papers everywhere. Looks a little like mine right now, off screen. Chaos, visualized, it can be beautiful, but it can also be kind of stressful. So why would we like chaos? Chaos, it creates space for creativity. Studies have shown that a messy desk may encourage a creative mind. So why do we not like chaos? Well, with chaos, we're missing things like clarity. So to navigate the chaos of project planning, you need something like GitHub Projects to give you the structure and flexibility so you can be creative and also provide clarity for ourselves and others. So why does clarity help address the stress of chaos? Without clarity, you may find the unknown scary, such as when you hike up a mountain or travel to a new city or when you start the first day of school. So how do we manage that uncertainty when you're going somewhere new? If you're like me, I like to bring a backpack or a giant purse with me. Helps me feel prepared as things come up. Helps me feel safe as I go on an adventure. So build your backpack. Add things like GitHub Projects to your backpack as you head towards the next summit of a project. So now that we've established that you need clarity, how do we get there? So you got GitHub in your backpack or your purse, and you're headed towards the first steps in your journey. Where do you start? Sit back, close your eyes, and pretend you're on a road trip. Maybe you've got some friends in the car with you, or some family, maybe some kids. At this point, you probably have a destination in mind, but also maybe you don't. But it's been a while since the last bio break stop. What are the 2 questions that always come up on a road trip? Number 1. Are we there yet? And then a little bit after that question, how much longer? Coming up with these list of questions can help guide you as you figure out how you want to set up your GitHub project. So now that I've set the stage, I'm going to walk you through 3 example projects of how I've seen GitHub projects used at Shopify. I'll also share some of the questions that come up before or during a project and walk you through some of my favorite features. First, I'll show you how I, as a program manager, can use GitHub projects. Then I'll walk you through an example of a team board that maybe a lead or an individual contributor might use. And lastly, I'll showcase a real-life example of a project and show how that can provide clarity to your open source audience. I'm a program manager, so I'm going to start there, show you some basics. Often, a program can be a set of projects or work streams spanning multiple teams that are working together towards some shared outcomes. Part of my role is to create clarity for the project teams and stakeholders. With project views, I can plan for questions like, when should we loop in the stakeholders? Or when is the program going to kick off? Are we on track to move to the next stage? If not, what do we need to do to get there? To provide clarity, it's important to break down these large pieces of work into smaller items. You can see here that I've created multiple views. I've also used the iterations field to show the different phases of the program. In this home view, I've used this table view for showing groups and priorities. The grouping that I've used here is the program phases through the iteration field. You also still got your Kanban board. I like to use these to show the progress or statuses of each item. For each view, there's also so many things you can customize. You can add specific filters or show and hide specific fields. There's just so much flexibility. You can be really creative. So there you have it, GitHub projects from a program management lens. Up next, I'm going to walk you through this board for the cross-functional org type GitHub project. I created this template based off of a cross-discipline backlog project that I saw. Putting my individual contributor hat on, what are some of the questions I might have? Could be, when do I need to complete this item? And what's the priority of this item? With this draft issue, you can do a lot of the things that you can as if it was a regular issue. You can add some comments in the description field. You can also adjust the different fields, the custom fields in this view specifically. So it's pretty much just like an issue, but it won't show up in the repo. If you do want to convert it to the issue, there's a button here. Or if you decide you don't actually want to convert it into an issue, there's other options as well. Now, putting my lead hat on, what kind of questions would I have? What does our team need to complete in this cycle or the next? So for example, here's my release view, and I can see here are the steps for this cycle and for that cycle. What are some other questions that GitHub Projects could help answer? What are the top priorities? So here, I've used this custom priority dropdown. I can also answer the question, what kind of roles are needed in the next cycle? So here in the next cycle, I can see, I need someone from mobile and I need someone from UX. Some features about GitHub Projects that I'm really excited about and excited to explore these a bit more are the insights features and the workflow features. So this insights features lets you to create some custom reports. So there's a velocity chart, so I can see for each cycle how many things are supposed to happen for each, as well as what are the items for each discipline for those cycles. Then looking at the workflow features, so you have a bunch of these different workflows that you can set up for your project. So based on an action, you can reset the custom field for different items. For example, when an issue or PR are closed, you can change the status to done. When an issue is closed after a certain number of days, you can have it auto-archive. So that will just clean up the view that you see here. So once they're completed, it will be hidden from this view. So that way your project won't grow and grow and grow forever for all eternity and turn into this big mess. So that's kind of cool. So that was my example of a cross-functional org backlog type project. Next up, I'm going to show you a real-life example. This is for Polaris, Shopify's open-source design system. Polaris helps us evolve the merchant experience with our community of developers. We'd love contributions in any form, such as discussions, issues, and pull requests. Polaris' team is able to use this project to show what's on the roadmap. They can also use it to show the different contributions that are in progress. You can even see that they've used this project to show projects within this project using filtered views. I want to show you the different ways I can get to a project. I can get to this project from the organization view. I can also get to the project from the repo view. Or I can even go to the issues page, filter the issues by a project, and then I can even bulk add issues to a project from this page. I love that you can easily transition between workflows when managing your issue backlog. So there you have it, some examples of how we've used GitHub Projects. Now it's your turn. If you're still using the classic projects, here's some differences that I noticed between the two to kind of get you started. There's one or two things that might require a bit of a mind shift, but the overall new GitHub Projects provide so much more flexibility that it is worth switching over. So the first thing that I noticed was that in the previous version of GitHub Projects, you had the card option if you didn't have issues. So you could have like the cards, you could have the issues, you could have your pull requests. Now instead of this card, you could actually have draft issues. So the draft issues has almost everything that you have with an issue. It's just not published to the repo yet. And so that's really cool. You can add a lot more details and context before actually hitting publish to the repo. I also noticed that with the new option, there's much more keyboard shortcuts that you can do. It's really, really powerful because it allows you to populate the project even faster. With the previous version, you could only use the Kanban. So with this new version, that unlocks the list views. I still like the board view. It's great for showing progress, but the list views are so awesome for being able to show priority and groupings of the different issues within the project. Before, you could only have issue-only fields, but with the new projects, you can have project-specific fields. And this gives you so much more freedom to add context to each individual item, but also how they tie to each other and how they tie to the overall project. With the multiple views, you can also set specific views for different roles. So like it's kind of like a lens into the project. For a UX person, they can just look at the pieces that are relevant to them, or for someone who's on the product side, they can just look at the overall pieces that are relevant to them too. You're also able to connect a project to an org and a repo, which makes it so much easier to see how a project is tied to a code base or a team. Thank you for joining me on this exploration of GitHub Projects. I hope this motivates you to try out all the features that it has to offer. If you have some cool usages of GitHub Projects, I'd love to see them. Tag me in an issue or something. I'll leave you with this parting thought. It's a chaotic world, so be creative and kind by providing clarity for yourself and others.